Hello, we're back to XBlig, and this time we're going to be playing Avatar Galaxy. Avatar Galaxy is a game I saw someone play a long time ago, and it looked interesting to me, so it's one of the first ones I thought to buy. I only saw that person play the demo, so I didn't know what to expect, but what I saw did look promising, and the game is finishable, even if it's lacking in a few key areas, and most people probably wouldn't figure it out, but that's why I'm here, to figure out these games for you. We are going to be playing through the entire experience. There's not a lot to it, but I had fun figuring out how to work around its broken mechanics. It was basically a puzzle for me, and I like puzzles, so it was fun. It wasn't fun for the intended reasons. I promise the game hasn't crashed, it just loads a really long time, and even after it loads, it has a bunch of performance issues, so if it looks terrible, that's not on me, that's the game. It is still loading, I promise. There it goes. Okay, so we get unceremoniously dropped into the open world as soon as we press start and press play. So the general premise behind Avatar Galaxy is that the world is ending. You can see the Avatar civilization is in ruins, there are meteors falling from the sky, very depressing music is playing, everything's ruined, everybody's depressed. And that's the general plot of this game, is that the Avatar Galaxy is falling apart. And we have to fix it. This stuff we're collecting that looks kind of like money from Kingdom Hearts is called treasure. And it doesn't actually do anything. You figure it would be used for something, but it's just score, I guess? Anyway, this game is a 3D platformer primarily. And it doesn't control very well. The jump arc is very strange, and the game stutters, which makes the platforming even harder. It's supposed to be co-op multiplayer, but I'm not sure why, because it's very much a single-player experience. Right now we're just walking around talking to the NPCs. This lady says her sister is missing, and because I played this game before, I know exactly where her sister is. She's down here in this cave, along with a very important hammer that we need to finish the game. This hammer is going to be our main companion throughout the adventure. That is loud. The Hammer of Fate is one of the sacred relics we need to repair the world. We can't use it yet. We can only use it in very specific spots, very specific designated areas. But we can swing it whenever we like, even if it doesn't do anything. But now that we have it, we can proceed onto our main quest in repairing the Avatar Galaxy, stopping it from ending. So now let's go over here and talk to Riley, who's brooding and staring off into the distance. Riley will tell us the main plot. He'll give us the general plot synopsis and tell us what we have to do to save the world. There's no indication you're supposed to talk to Riley, but if you don't, you won't know what's going on. So now that we do know what's going on, let's talk to the remaining NPCs. This game isn't very large, in spite of it being called Avatar Galaxy, but you might have guessed that from the video runtime. The game would be even shorter than 13 minutes if we didn't talk to all the NPCs. But the NPC dialogue is one of the most interesting things about the game. So of course we're going to go out of our way to speak to them. There's actually not a lot of them though, which is a shame. After we leave this hub world and go to the actual gameplay to start finding the other relics, we're not going to find any more NPCs to talk to. I think this is the last one I talked to, besides the scientist standing next to the exit. The dialogue isn't great, but it's entertaining. So now we're gonna head off to the exit. Right after we talk to the scientist. You can tell he's a scientist because of his clothing. That's how all scientists dress. He mentions that we have the Hammer of Fate, so now we can save the galaxy. And this is the first area where we can use the Hammer of Fate. By pressing X, we can place blocks. We aim the Hammer of Fate by moving the right stick. We cannot remove blocks, though. So we need to be very careful that we only place blocks in places we want them to go. If we place blocks in the wrong places, we can easily make the game unwinnable. So after I grab this treasure that we don't really need to get, we're going to go to the world select screen. which is a laptop. The idea behind Avatar Galaxy is that the programming of Avatar Galaxy, the game we're in, is falling apart, and we need to rescue it. Which maybe isn't far from the truth. I don't know a lot about programming. Anyway, we chose this world first for a reason, because there's something here we really want if we want to make the rest of the game playable. First of all, we're gonna do a sequence break though. We're supposed to climb a whole bunch of towers and jump down into this walled area over here, but instead we're just gonna jump behind the wall. Because we're capable of jumping after we walk off a ledge, if we time it and angle it just right, we can fall behind the wall and then, yep, do that. So now we can get access to this area without having to climb the tower, which is good because climbing the tower is really frustrating and hard. It was a fun sequence break to figure out. And down here is one of the relics. We already have the first relic, the Hammer of Fate, and this one, whenever we eventually get to it. This will boost our jump, which makes the rest of the game bearable. That's why we came here first, to get the extra jump height. Without the extra jump height, the rest of the game is pretty much unplayable. You may have noticed we passed an enemy that was shooting stuff at us. We're going to be ignoring pretty much every enemy in the game. There is a way to combat them, but it's not worth it. It's way more trouble than you should go through. Now, in order to get out of this walled area we found ourselves in, we could go the way we initially came, or we could use our new super jump. Now, there is one more relic on this planet we need before we leave. And I get lost trying to find it very briefly. I know it's in one of these holes in the ground, but I searched the wrong hole at first. We do need all of the relics to get the ending. The ending is really underwhelming, but we do need all of the relics to get it. Maybe the reason this was meant to be multiplayer is so you could figure out the puzzles together. I guess the entire purpose of the game is pathfinding, so if you had friends who wanted to solve the puzzles with you, maybe that's what this is for. But I don't think the multiplayer function was ever used. And now that X-Blig is down, I don't think it will work anymore. Anyway, the next relic is right through here. We have to go past another couple shooting enemies, but even if we die, it doesn't matter. So we gained a fire weapon, and it says we can use it to shoot enemies, but whenever I try to use it, it just makes a beep sound. Yeah, so this is the fire orb, and it's supposed to let us shoot a flaming projectile, but as you heard, it just makes a beep sound whenever we try to use it. And at first I thought the game was just broken. At first I thought the weapon just didn't work, but it does work. It's just that we accidentally sequence broke the weapon. I'll explain what that means shortly, but now that we've gotten all the relics we need from that world, we can go on to the next one. There are only 3 worlds we need to visit in total, so there's not a lot of game left. And thankfully, with the heightened jump we have, the rest of the game will be much easier. That definitely wasn't the first world we were supposed to visit, but we visited it first for a reason. This is the ice world, and you see that purple tower? We're supposed to climb that and build a pathway to the yellow tower across from it, but we're not going to do that. We're going to sequence break the game again. But first we're going to come down here and get a heart piece. Now we can take more hits, but if we die, it doesn't matter because we respawn on the same world we died on, and the worlds aren't very big. So yeah, we're supposed to climb this purple tower and build a pathway to the yellow one, and then build a pathway to that blue orb up there, but instead, we're going to use our heightened jump. With our heightened jump, instead of using the Hammer of Fate to build our way to the blue orb, we can sequence break platform our way. I'm going to assume this was not the intended solution, because if you don't have the heightened jump, you can't make it up here, and you're definitely supposed to get the ice orb first, because now that we have the ice orb, we can use the fire orb. The fire orb's functionality is tied to the ice orb, so they expected you to get the ice orb first. The fire orb won't work until you get the ice orb. That's how it's programmed. Also, the fire orb and the ice orb are interchangeable. They seem to be exactly the same weapon. It's just that you can't use them until you get the ice orb. It's not well designed. And now that we're back to the hub again after finishing the ice world, we can go ahead to the final world. The final world is maybe the easiest. We have to use the Hammer of Fate again for the final world. We were supposed to use the Hammer of Fate for the last two, but we circumvented that with sequence breaking. We can't sequence break the final one, but the Hammer of Fate isn't too hard to use for the final one, unlike the other two. Here we go. So this is the final world, and there isn't a lot here, but there is one very big structure. And you guessed it, that's the one we need to climb. It's kind of barren compared to the other two worlds. The other two worlds weren't full of life, but this one's even more barren than those. So the entire goal in this final world is to build a bridge from this tower to the tower across from it. And then we'll get the final relic. As was said previously, we aim the Hammer of Fate using the right stick. The aiming can be kind of finicky, but after we have it in the right position, we only need to make very slight adjustments. Very, very slight adjustments. If we end up placing too many blocks in the wrong place, we won't be able to finish the game. And even though the game is only 13 minutes long, we want to avoid that. There we go. It's going really well so far. We just need to build a bridge. Doesn't need to be fancy. That's the final relic over there, and it's a strange one. I didn't really see it coming. I guess it's the closest this game has to a twist in it. But yes, Avatar Galaxy is pretty much over. We'll come over here to get the final relic, and there's a cross etched into the ground, and the final relic is, well, it's the Ten Commandments. A bit of a strange decision, but that's okay. Now that we've finished the game, we can return back, and this time the music is all happy. The world is still in ruins, and there are still meteors falling from the sky. And if you were a normal person, you might wonder if the game isn't finished yet. You might think you still have more to do. But the game does have an ending. It's just, the ending is very underwhelming, and you might not know where to find it. But the ending in the game is the same place where we found the story for the game in the first place. We simply need to talk to Riley again to get the ending. And it's a very underwhelming ending, but it's the closest this game has to closure, and I think we deserve a little bit of closure. Some of the NPCs don't even say anything different. It's depressing. He says we should build a bridge to get him treasure, but we can't. So now we'll head over to Riley to get the ending of the game, and that'll be it. That'll be it for Avatar Galaxy.